What up, everybody? How we all doing? A little exhausted, so if the energy's a little low today, I apologize for that. Had a very busy day. I'll get into that in a moment. So, for people who are new to this is the Transformer Slag podcast Saturday night live stream main event. I am your host, Proto Man. I am the voice that you hear on top of all those terribly cropped segments throughout the week, giving you that Transformer news that you also love. How we all doing? Good to see all my YouTube members up in the house. 2 Hasbro people. And a lot of love. Awesome stuff. So we're going to get into the news this week and just cover some stuff here and there. There's not a lot of stuff to cover, but there's just a few things. A few things also I didn't cover during the actual week of news that I think I wanted to save more for the stream because I could do a better job at that. Cover some stuff that I got in the P.O. box. I got 2 little items in the P.O. box that I'll cover. The little Transformer Slag P.O. box if you want to send something to the podcast, preferably something that isn't legal. and then we'll just relax for the rest of the night, take a few super chats, ask a couple of questions, and just chill on this Saturday night in this crazy world that we live in 2020. Shall we then? So let's jump into the first piece of news, and then we'll take it from there. So first up, what do we got here? Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom Golden Disc Collection potentially. Maybe Wave 4. We don't really know where this slots in. But, hey, we got Slammer. So this image leaked out probably from Vietnamese factories. Fun fact, I forgot to mention this. Just 2-3 days ago, someone tried to hack into my Facebook account from Vietnam. And I have their IP address, their location, and everything. I don't know. Kind of weird. I showed it to all my patrons in my Discord, thinking if they could maybe figure out something, but very interesting. I think I'm ruffling some feathers. But anyways, so Vietnamese factory stolen Slammer. The Metroplex character never really had a proper robot mode toy in his history. Really was just something that turned from a tower pseudo piece of the original 1986 G1 Metroplex into a tank, and a not really that great tank in all honesty, and that was about it. But now we have a better idea of what this is going to look like. We had those leaks all those months ago of the listing of a Slammer. We thought, oh, maybe it's going to be a white repaint of Kingdom, Warpath. It just made sense, really, when you think about it. I mean, you just get this brand new tank mold in Kingdom. Why not turn it into a white version of it? But it seems that they're going the weaponizer / modulator / Earthrise Micromaster base route. And I have to turn off my phone. Got to remember to do that. But yeah. And we pretty much, what's interesting about him more than anything else is on the bottom right here of what you're seeing is on Hasbro's website themselves. They put some information about the character, what he turns into. So a tank / tower, which is intriguing. Again, looking at that modulator, Earthrise kind of base stuff that was going on that I loved so much. But what's even more interesting is the message from the future. You are part of something bigger or larger. Now, we have the rumors for Transformers Legacy for 2022 and the rumors of a Cybertron Titan-class Metroplex. This could be a piece of that, a attachment, if you will, a suggestion that this might be what's next. So if you are planning on getting that Metroplex next year, assuming that that is 100% what it is, I would probably suggest picking up this piece before it becomes difficult later on when Legacy, Evolution, or whatever it's going to be called, fully kicks itself out and starts becoming a thing. So keep that in mind. So keep that in mind heavily, because he's going to probably be hype. And again, if he's anything like the other Eartherized modulators that have any kind of slight base mode to him, that's a sale for me right away. I love all of those guys. I wish they made more, in all honesty, but I guess it was just Hasbro having fun, and they didn't get to go too far into it. Alrighty, so, but yeah, that's it pretty much for Slammer. We don't have release dates. We don't have any information. Hasbro has yet to acknowledge its existence due to some dubious ways of how they hype up their product. I get a feeling we are probably going to see this on shelves before the October PulseCon. I just have a feeling that that's what's going to happen. They're going to show up on Walmart shelves or something before even PulseCon gets a chance to, announce them or something. Just my call. At least that's what I think. Next up, let's talk about another weird one. This came courtesy of the Hasbro Pulse website, and later on was a shared exclusive across multiple different platforms and websites. This is the Generation Selects, as it's called in the marketing, Nest Bumblebee Studio Series 77. Now, a lot of people were confused by it because it really is just a gray repaint of the Studio Series 57 Off-Road Bumblebee from the Bumblebee movie, seen on the right here. And it comes with a Sam Witwicky that was present in both originally the Buzzworthy Bumblebee Studio Series 74 BB, which is the Buzzworthy Bumblebee version, which is exactly the same as the Studio Series 74 regular edition. So it's a very weird amalgam of things. Even if you go, if you zoom in on the packaging, apparently they misspelled Bumblebee on it, which is, I really hope that's just the CG mock-up that's misspelled and not the actual final product in stores. I'm pretty sure they'll catch that. I really hope they do. I mean, it's not like they've been spelling Bumblebee all these years on thousands of products. But it's actually interesting that that they're doing this. I think it's just them going, what do we do with this mold? I mean, some people I saw in the comments of my videos were suggesting they could have made it a Hound figure. Yeah, but then that really would have even been more, I guess, separated from what Studio Series' goal is. Unless you're saying like maybe a Generations Hound or something. Maybe. I don't know. I just think it's very weird. And again, the description on the website was saying it was, Bumblebee protecting the Allspark from the Decepticons, which would imply that, this is happening during the 2007 movie, which means he would have to be the new Camaro, which doesn't make any sense. And by by Sam being there, that means it's after Sam. It doesn't make any sense. Unless there's some micro continuity where for 5 seconds, Bumblebee scanned a off-road Jeep or something and was holding the Allspark from between Hoover Dam and the final battle in Mission City. I don't know. I do not know. That's just what they're trying to do here. Some people were suggesting, and I'll pull up the image here, that it might be an homage to the old Dark of the Moon Daredevil Squad 3-pack that came out, I believe it was 2011. I think it was 2011. Because it has, green tinted windows, it has the gray color scheme, it comes with a Sam Witwicky figure, it has some kind of emblem on the vehicle. In the case of the Studio Series one, it's the Nest emblem. In the case of the Sam Witwicky, it's the Autobot Daredevil Squad. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure this does it for somebody. Must be intriguing to someone here. But, I mean, to me, it's kind of filler. But the way that I see it, too, is that this is a Generation Selects shared exclusive, meaning that it's an exclusive available to a bunch of online retailers, not just Generation Selects. So I think they just wanted to make a weird product, kind of like when we look back at Studio Series and we had that Thundercracker that was a Nitro Zeus retool repaint, and that isn't something based in the movie, but it was an exclusive to Toys R Us when Toys R Us was still a thing in the United States. So, maybe it falls into more of that category of, hey, let's just do something weird. So, yeah, it is what it is. Got some super chats here of it's actually drinking I'm actually drinking tonight. Shots of tequila from Stinkfist69. Don't get too drunk, Stinkfist. If you fall asleep on the keyboard. Then Stinkfist says, yeah, that Bumblebee doesn't make any sense. Wasn't in the movie. Yeah, again, I don't know. I'm sure there's a logic behind it. Maybe because it's an exclusive and they made some deals with Big Bad Toy Store and TF Source and all the other online retailers. There must be a reason. But I guess it's just filler more than anything else. If this was in Buzzworthy Bumblebee, I wouldn't be as confused. I'd just be more, okay, it's a gray Bumblebee. It's a thing. But that's not the case here. So, very bizarre. Whatevs. Whatever. Let's just pull that away. Yeah. Stinkfist says here, I also watched the first Transformer movie today on HBO, and they really did Jazz wrong. Jaws D was it when he was in theaters, was like, no! He was like 3 rows behind me, and I heard that. Now, the next piece of news, and this one's interesting, is because it's a little bit of a licensing news, and I'll pull up the image in a moment. So there's this company called Rubber Road, and I didn't know that I actually owned a few of their products, but they're a licensing company that really deals in 2 things. They deal in those quarter-size arcade machines that you see in Walmart in the electronics section, based on like Galaga, Q*bert, Rampage, and stuff like that. So they make those, and they make these. They're called tubs, they're pretty much what if Funko Pop had a whole bunch of licenses and turned them into rubber duckies. So it seems that Rubber Road has recently acquired the rights to a whole bunch of Hasbro properties, more specifically the Transformers brand. So expect in the very near future a whole bunch of tubs, Tubbz. That's how they're spelled if you want to look these up and check out all the plethora. This doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of all the different licenses they have of these. I own actually one of these. I own the Chung-Li in the bottom there. And I didn't know that was part of Rubber Road. So there's a lot of these out there. I've seen them in GameStop. I've seen them in, Hot Topic. So these do show up. So they're going to be making Transformer ones. So who are they going to be? Chances are probably the Legendary 7 of Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Soundwave, Starscream, Megatron, Grimlock, and possibly Devastator. So keep an eye out for that. Again, if you're interested in these, if you think these are cute, if you want to get an idea of what tubs are, check out Rubber Road's website. They have a whole bunch of them on their website. This image barely scratches the surface. This is what I was able to fit inside the screenshot for you guys. I could have put the Resident Evil ones. There's tons more Street Fighter ones, a whole bunch of other movies, Lord of the Rings. It's a lot of weird stuff, but they're actually very large too, and high quality, because I have the Chung-Li one. I don't have any of the others, but just, I don't know. I saw the Chung-Li one for sale at GameStop. I think it was like 2 years ago when the world was normal and I was able to go into stores and do that. So, I mean, they're kind of cool, but to me, it's Funko Pop, but ducks. That's the best way to describe it. So keep an eye out for that. We don't have a date yet, but there's going to be Transformer ones of it. I just want to report that because the news that was reported of it was kind of lacking the information, so I figured I wanted to cover it here because I know a thing or two about the licensing part. Next up, let's talk about some Transformers that you probably don't really care about either way, but might as well get the update of the news from the segment that I did earlier this week. And spinning bird kick, that's actually pretty good. We have the Transformers Saber Battalion sets. These showed up on Amazon initially. For some people that are kind of getting deja vu with this, like I mentioned in my previous segment, these were initially released in the Asian regions as individuals, a part of the Evergreen and Saber Battalion line and stuff like that. And it's pretty much to put out Transformer product of an authentic capacity in regions of the planet that are more prone to having bootlegs of Transformers, aka South America, China, Taiwan, Thailand, so Hong Kong. I mean, I could go on and on. This is made for those regions, and they're made on the cheap. They're done with cheap packaging. The plastic is not as complex, limited paint applications, but despite what these photos might show you, they're 7-inch figures. They're fairly large despite their simplicity. They were put out here, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, and they had 2 more waves after that. They had Jetfire, they had Prowl, they had Shockwave, so they had Grimlock. So they were making an effort to put these out there for that market. It was part of Hasbro's GDO, which is the global development operation, which is they wanted to develop the Transformer brand in other regions. And that's what this is. Now they've showed up on Amazon. So if you want to get, a 2-pack of 2 very beefy, simplistic Transformers for the youngins in your life, or a niece or a nephew or a young virgining Transformer fan, $26.49 gets you a 2-pack. You have the Optimus Prime and the Megatron, or the Bumblebee and the Starscream. It is what it is. I mean, it's not for us. I get it. But it is something I just wanted to give an update on, because we didn't know much about the second 2-pack, aside from the fact that it was a Bumblebee. And I guessed that it was going to be Starscream, and I guess I was right. Because again, Legendary 7, got to work with it. So that's more or less it. Not much really to mention on that. Let's get into the big news itself, and it's that, of course, Mr. Victory Saber and the HasLab Pulse backing system. So we got some brand new images here, high-res images of the resin prototype in many different shapes and forms. I went into deep detail about this in my individual segment. I don't want to repeat too much about it. What was good about it more than anything else was it gave us a good idea of scale, which I'll get into in a moment, because we also have another indication of scale too. But as of this recording, and it might have gone up in the past hour since I've done this slide for you guys, but they're at 5,467. They're more than halfway along the way. Although I have been tracking its progress day to day, it has slowed down a little bit. It used to be, at first when it started, it was about 200 backs a day. And, well, obviously the first couple of days it was a huge chunk, but then it started to become 200 backers a day. Now, in the past 2 days, it's been about 40 to 50 backers a day. Obviously, there's going to be a quiet period where it is going to slow down, and the people who really wanted it already backed. The people that were kind of hesitant about it are still on the fence. Maybe they're going to do it today. And then most people, I get a feeling, are going to wait until the last moment to see how far this goes. And again, I've said this before, my worry about that is we might not get some of those secondary tier items if it does. I personally feel this thing's going to get backed. I think it'll reach its numbers. I just don't think the secondary tier stuff will get backed. And if we get a Victory Saber without the V-Lock cannon, that would suck. That would really suck. But anyways, that's pretty much that. Here we got a shot of the scale now. And this weekend that just passed was the Boston Fan Expo. And they had the Victory Saber and the Star Saber and Victory Leo on display in a glass case that people could go up to and take a look at. Someone came with a Generations Special Edition counterpunch as, I guess, their best way to show us scale and stuff, and they were showing it next to the glass case as best they could. We already have a general indication already, because Hasbro did confirm that Victory Leo, from toes to the top of his robot mode head, is 7.5 inches. Now we have some better images of Victory Leo next to Star Saber. Confirmed now, more or less, from all of these images that we are correct, just like we imagined before. Like Titan's Return Overlord, he's 9.5 inches. And the Victory Saber that was on display, someone actually measured the toy in the glass case, and it is confirmed at 11 inches, maybe 11.5 inches. That was the best that they were able to get out of it, because the Victory Saber was on the end of the glass display on one side, and they were able to kind of measure it and get an idea. So Victory Saber from toes to the top of his head, not counting the cannons, 11 inches, maybe 11.5. So to give an idea of it, I'm trying to think of something that's big. Okay. Siege Jetfire, which is a commander class, I believe is 12 to 13 inches, if I remember correctly. So that'll give you an idea. So pretty much Victory Saber is a commander class figure. Assuming that he comes with his V-Lock cannons and his blast accessories, which is a tier unlocking thing, it's still a little overpriced in my opinion. Just my take on that. For $179 for something that's a commander class. I mean, when you look at, again, something like Jetfire, he had that big gun piece that became like a chess piece, and he had his dual guns, and he had like all those different blast accessories. I believe it was like 6 of them or even more. So, like, you know, if they were able to do that Commander class with Siege, you know, this is, I don't know. It's just, the price points still to this day. I like this figure. I like it a lot. I like what's going on here. From now that I know it's 9.5 inches, we know that it scales well with Diatlas from the big powered thing. And it's something that, like, I don't know. It's just the price. The price is what just confuses me. This could have been a retail product. That's what I think. And it could have been a retail product that could have slashed off $50, if not $60. But that's what it is, more or less. But yeah, we'll figure out what happens. I mean, I get a feeling a lot of people are going to do the backing at the end of it, and that'll be that, and it'll happen. But it's just more that the price, I think, is making people be hesitant, combined with the fact that there probably is going to be very important accessories that are behind a backer tier that probably won't happen. I'm reminded of when we had Grand Maximus from Takara, and they said, oh, if we get to a certain amount of pre-orders, we're going to include that Grand Pretender shell, and it didn't hit that. And so we got Grand Maximus, we got a Titans Returns Grand Maximus, but it didn't have the Grand Pretender shell, and that sucked. That really sucked. Downright Superb says here, for your information, LG EX Godo Jinrai, which was the Takara Legends EX, is 10 inches at top to head. Victory Saber is taller. I think Victory Saber should be taller, to be honest. I mean, there was some scenes in Victory. Now, granted, obviously G1 cartoons, you can't use scale all the time, but there was scenes where God Jinrai was like walking next to Blacker, the leader of the Brainmasters, and they were pretty in scale with each other in a lot of ways. So, I mean, scale's all over the place. It's kind of hard to tell. But, I mean, I would like to see God Jinrai, something that at least is face-to-face with Star Saber. It's another, like, super character. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Still pretty cool. But I just, again, the price is the one that makes everyone hesitate. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully you'll get some color images. Maybe that'll get people more excited. And we'll see what happens. Last but not least, I just want to talk about, and I mentioned about this in the title and on my Twitter post talking about what the stream is going to be about tonight. A legend in the Transformer world, a very important legend in the Transformer world, passed away. Bob Prupis passed away just a couple of days ago, August 27th, 2021, at the age of 93, which, long, well-lived life. I got to meet Bob at BotCon 2004 back in the day. He came with, I think her name was Allison, who was another representative of the old guard of Hasbro back in the day. And Bob, or Robert as his official name is, Robert or Bob, Bob was very crucial behind Transformers coming to the Western world in a lot of ways, or more specifically the Diaclone and Microman stuff. And I just want to read a little excerpt here from Bob as a little tribute in a lot of ways. This comes from BotCon back in the day in 2004 when he did it, and someone transcribed his little thing here. He was the vice president of Boys Toys, so let's just go at that. As vice president of Boys Toys at Hasbro, this is what Bob said. I managed the introduction of the 1983 line, and my marketing with other teams and other developments developed into positions and the rationale of brands. There was other products outside in Japan called Diaclone, which had moderate success in Japan, and while it had some attempts to be brought over to the US market through other third-party companies, failed in the United States in 1982 and 1983. A product developer by the name of Henry Ornstein brought the concept from the Japanese company called Takara to Hasbro and to the head of R&D, George Dunsey. I was personally the VP of Boys Toys at the time and fell in love with the magic of the physical transformation, but I felt that the concept needed a little more emotion to create a connection with the target demographic. I believed that the fantasy logic was needed in order to bring something that kids could understand and truly relate to. At the time, we had a great relationship with Marvel Comics. They had done G.I. Joe, and I called a meeting with our marketing team and Marvel Comics creative group, and after much discussing many rejected concepts, we finally decided to throw away those little men that came with the Diaclone figures that were supposed to be the operators of the robots and make these robots the heroes that we know today. And then, of course, he goes on. It's an interesting interview. I'm gonna tag the interview, the full interview itself, in the replay of the stream tonight. And it's a very interesting interview because afterwards, after he pretty much helped in a lot of ways to bring Transformers, to make Transformers, he was also responsible for Generation 2, because at that point in the 90s, he got moved to the European division of Transformers. Actually, you know what? I'll pull up that little excerpt of the European division because it's a little interesting thing too that he mentioned. Where is it here? Here we go. The second rebirth of Transformations, or as you fans know, as Generation 2, started in 1989. I was transferred to England as a senior vice president of international marketing, responsible for all Hasbro's brands in Europe. The Transformers were incredibly successful in the late 80s in the European market. The United States market and the R&D group decided that in 1991 to discontinue the Transformers line and develop no product in 1992. This is in the USA, and this is what I've talked about in the past on my segment on the podcast, The Worst Year of Transformers History in 1992. Back to what Bob's talking about. However, as an important segment of the international market, continuing the success of the line and keeping the brand of the line alive, I had to do something. I flew to Tokyo and was able to convince the Japanese that have been creating new product of Transformers all this time that were absent in the United States, aka Headmasters, Master Force, Victory Zone, Operation Combination, and so on, that Europe and Asia could do enough volume that would make it worthwhile for them. So in 1990, we structured a new marketing and R&D team and started the development for Generation 2. So he was also behind Generation 2. So if you're big a G2 fan, you got to thank Bob for that. So I just want to give a little, tribute to him. He was a big part of the Transformer world, an unsung hero that a lot of people don't know the name, don't know the history, and he's only been to one BotCon. He was just one of those guys that really just kind of came to one BotCon, and that was it. So, rest in peace, Bob. Thanks for all the years and everything like that, my friend. And that's it for the news this week. Sorry, I didn't want to end it on a downer, but I just kind of wanted to put that in there and everything too. I'll post again, like I said, in the replay of this segment tonight, when we do the re-upload where people could re-watch the segment, I'll post it in the pinned comments below, like the top pinned comment. I'll post the full article. It was Robot Apocalypse, I believe it was. I think it was Brian whatever that posted it. He transcribed the whole BotCon thing. And it's a really fascinating read because it talks about all the marketing and the ideas and, getting rid of the Diaclone drivers and all the different concepts and even talking about food marketing. Like, it's very fascinating. It's very, very fascinating interview. Very, very fascinating interview. But yeah, let's just do a little quick sponsor note. So Symbiote Studios is our sponsor once again for tonight. They're responsible for our pins, our plushes, and our shirts of Transformers. I'm wearing their Cat Bravo, I swear it looks like poutine. It's supposed to be ramen, but Cat Bravo t-shirt today. And of course we have Megatron chilling in the back today. And of course I'm wearing the Megatron SD pin to match it, along with all the other crew back there. So if you're interested in their stuff, they're working on brand new Wave 3 of their Transformers plush line is on its way, along with a convention exclusive for San Diego Comic-Con. SymbioteStudios.com. Check it out. They do a lot of other stuff too, Hasbro brands. And of course, be aware of that San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that's coming. Gee, I wonder who it is. SymbioteStudios.com. And that's it. So we'll jump into some super chat questions, and then we'll just chill for the rest of the evening and relax. Because actually, one thing I'll jump into also while you guys fire up some super chat questions. I got 2 things in the mail from the P.O. Box. I got one here from Matthew. Came in the mail. I mentioned in one of my past streams how I was missing the bot that turns into the Christmas tree because I don't really. I'm like, I like the idea of bots, but now everything is repaints and like, chase figures and stuff like that. So I don't really buy bots as much unless it's a really weird figure. When that Duke's figure, the one that turns into poop, when that one comes out, I want that one so bad because that's going to be a piece of Transformer history. A piece of shit. But so I got that. That was pretty cool. Thanks, Matthew P. And then I got this one too. This is a really interesting one. This comes from DF Deep Freeze in the P.O. box. It's a bootleg of Reverse Megatron, Reverse Convoy Rebirth Megatron from Robot Masters, done in yellow and red. And it is so weird. I always do have to do something for the screenshot for the podcast, but it's very weird. It's a very weird bootleg. Look at that weird logo. It's not an Autobot logo. It's not a Decepticon logo. It's a weird bootleg logo, and the missile is just like a missile. It doesn't even like pop out or anything. He does not. While he has the resculpted Rebirth Megatron head, which is not G2 Hero Megatron, which some people, it's also floppy as hell. He doesn't have the Convoy head, which is interesting. But it's a Proto Man colored red and yellow Japanese bootleg. So I dig it. It's cool. Thank you, DF Deep Freeze. I always like weird bootlegs. Always like the weird bootlegs. But that was it for stuff that came in the mail this week. Not much else. Didn't pick up any other Transformers. Was just really busy this week. Essentially was just hitting up a lot of different places, trying to get some stuff done. Kind of hurt my shoulder too, lifting some boxes. But otherwise, yeah, that's more or less it. Downright Superb here. Do you think Hasbro takes the scalper market into account when producing inventory? Maybe if they make too much, scalpers won't bother. No, you know what? The sad truth is, and we see this through Nintendo also, they love that. They love that stuff. If you tell Hasbro, hey, stuff sold out, they did their job. They're definitely not worried about scalpers. The only people, honestly, that are like in terms of the professional stuff that are worried about scalpers, and even then it's only a small percentage, is the stores. Like Target, and I remember I saw also at Toys R Us. Toys R Us was the first time I really saw it, was when the G.I. Joe classified stuff started to come out. Toys R Us was the first time I went into a store and I saw a sign that said G.I. Joe classified, 1 per customer. And that was the first time I really saw something like that with toys. I've seen it with amiibos and video game stuff, but never with toys before. And then I heard that Target was doing something similar where someone wasn't allowed to buy multiple of the same product and stuff. And man, like, I don't think Hasbro will ever care about the scalper thing, because to them it's just more money. Scalping, you have to understand, is really a region by region kind of thing. Some places suffer from it, some places don't. If you're in a smaller region that doesn't have a lot of Walmarts or Targets or Kmarts or whatever, Walgreens. Is Kmart even around in the States anymore? I don't know. It's been so long since I've been to the States because of the big V. But the point is that, because there's that exists, and if you live in a small region, you're gonna, all it takes is one ass to do that and just pick up everything. Look, here in Montreal, we have a guy who's a scalper, and what's sad about that is he's a big Transformer scalper, and people that I know, because I run conventions with my friends, and this guy will have a table at other conventions, and when I have a table at those other conventions, he'll have a table there. And people will come and they'll talk with me. Oh, hey, Proto Man, how you doing? We'll talk about some new Transformer news or something, blah, blah, blah. And then after they're done, because I don't really sell Transformer product at these smaller shows locally in Montreal, I usually sell miscellaneous stuff. I save that for the parts parties in Toronto for TFCon. they'll be talking with me and stuff, and then they'll leave my table and go to that Scalper guy and pay double for something brand new. And it's just like, scalpers will always exist if there's people dumb enough to pay those prices. If people don't pay those prices, then the scalper drowns, because then he's stuck with all this inventory and he's invested. And we know how Transformer product is. It goes up and then it goes down. And then it takes like 5 years before it goes up again, so... And a lot of these guys, they'll get stuck with it. They will get stuck with it. But I don't think Hasbro cares. I think Hasbro, to them, it's sold out is, hey, our investors are going to be happy to hear that. For them to make more and be stuck with it, that's a nightmare for them. Tom Laney says, sitting here watching, and my sister Elizabeth noticed all the Transformers in the back. You're planning on making a video in your collection to show off. There's videos online of my collection being showed off. I was on a reality show called Geek Me about 4 years ago, where they pretty much talked about my collection and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a dated video, because we were talking about like BotCon exclusives and I think it was like 2016 or something. So, if you want, I don't really want to do a collection video because it's too much. I mean, this side behind me, it's too much to cover. Once in a while, I'll move the camera around and show, but you guys don't care about that. You guys really don't. But thank you for the question. I still want a tour of your collection. Why do people want to see my collection? It's in order. G1 in order, G2 in order with 90 stuff, so like Beast Wars, and then Unicron Trilogy, and Robot Masters, and Titaniums, and Transformers Prime in that era, and then of course Animated is here, and Cybertron is here, Universe 1.0 and Energon, and then the entire wall of movie and Generations and Masterpiece. Ben has a weird question. Weird question for you, Proto. You mentioned scale and G1 being inconsistent, but would an adult from a planet in Child's Play be compatible to Unicron in size? No, actually, because in Child's Play, even Unicron, if it was a human, I mean, even those really small slugs that came with Unicron compared to us, I mean, Unicron stood on top of Cybertron. And Cybertron, according to some listings, like in the comic books, is like the size of Jupiter, apparently. I mean, that's what they say. So, I mean, scale's all over the place with Transformers. It's really hard to lay down one thing. Sometimes, the Dinobots are bigger than all the Autobots. Sometimes Grimlock is the same size as Optimus Prime. It really depends. Stinkfist69 says, I got my Shattered Glass Blur in, and yes, comic book in loose was in great condition. Great to hear that, because some people were getting their entire Blur box crushed, let alone the comic. So that's great news, at least. Do it in parts. See, I don't know. Look, it's something where I don't know, I don't think many people would be as interested as you guys think, because it's like if I did like the Creo section, like I have a whole I don't know, I want to say 6 feet dedicated just to Creo and all its designs and stuff, because I really like Creo. I thought it was a fun little line and everything. I mean, everyone has their own collections, and they're all I like actually seeing other people's collections, to be honest, because I like to see what people do with their collections and how they display them. That's actually more cool to me. I remember I went to a friend's house, I want to say 8 years ago, and he showed me his toy collection. I just liked, the modesty of it and how it was. Me, this is like 25 years of collecting minimum. I'm probably under exact, maybe even more than that. So it got crazy one way or another. Downright Superb says, why did Kingdom re-release easy to get figures like Wheeljack and RC, but not hard to get exclusives like Sunstreaker and Earth and Trailbreaker? I think fiction. I think it has to do with the War for Cybertron trilogy cartoon series, because RC and Wheeljack were going to be ongoing appearing characters in those series. So I think their logic was, people are going to go watch the Kingdom series, we got to make sure RC is still on shelves. Even though she was on shelves in Earthrise, now it's Kingdom. That's what I think it was. I think it was more just brand synergy, which is a good thing. That's something that's really important, is to have that brand synergy, which is when someone sees something on the TV screen and then they want to make an impulse purchase because it's there, and they go, oh my God, these Transformers are cool, I want to go buy some. And then they get that first piece of plastic crack, and then they become obsessed with it. Where if they see something they like on the screen, they want to go buy it, and they go to stores and it's not there, then they get discouraged, they go home, and you lost them. So you want to be able to pull that off. You want to really, really be able to pull that off. Tom Laney says, a little backstory with each little series. Maybe, I don't know. You know what? Maybe one day, I'll see how I feel. Maybe one day I'll do something like that. Like maybe I'll do some like surprise streams or something, where I'll just like talk about a wave of something if people care. But I don't know. See, I used to do historical videos in the past, and I realized that, yeah, there might be like 60 people that really like it, but that's literally about it. That's kind of why I stopped doing a lot of YouTube videos, because even though like some of them would get like 2,000, 3,000 views, the time and energy that went into them, it just wasn't worth it. It really wasn't. You might as well just sit down with me at a convention and I'll tell you the whole story right there for free. You don't have to sit on a YouTube video. You Stinkfist69, you're downplaying the interest in your collection. Look, it's not even the biggest Transformer collection. It's probably in the top 5. I will definitely say that, but it's not even the biggest Transformer collection in the world. There's one guy I know for sure that has a way bigger collection than me. But he has the time and he has the money. Let me tell you. I don't have the time and I do not have the money or the space. I don't know if he has the space anymore. I can't even imagine how it must be now. We got a super chat question. We got a blue super chat from Collector Prime. Thank you, Collector Prime, for the super chat. I've been catching up on Headmasters. It's interesting that the Autobots are referred to as Cybertrons. Aren't the Destrons also Cybertrons? So in the Japanese continuity, it's called the planet Sabertron, S-E-I, Sabertron. And then you have the Destron and you have the Cybertron. So it's planet Sabertron and you have the Cybertrons. So it's a little confusing, but that's the way that they do it. A lot of the naming conventions are a little different in the Japanese world. A lot of like the mini-bot characters kind of had shortened versions of their name. So it's not Bumblebee, it was Bumble. It's not Cliff Jumper, it was Cliff. Grapple was Grap. I'm trying to think of a few others. Obviously, like, Blaster was called Broadcast. So they have stuff like that. Obviously, Optimus Prime is Convoy, which comes from its Diaclone roots because he was known as Battle Convoy over there. So I think they wanted to keep that muscle memory, because any Japanese people that remember Diaclone would be like, hey, it's that same truck, but now he has an animation. Wasn't that Battle Convoy? Now he's just Convoy. I think they tried to keep that in a lot of ways. It's kind of like how Kinnikuman Man was brought over here in the 80s as Muscles, and it was a small line called Muscles, little rubber figures. It didn't do very well in the American market, and then it disappeared. And then years later with the Fox box, they did like a revival of Kinnikuman with Kinnikuman Second. And since they were like, well, we're going to bring the new Kinnikuman show over here to America, what do we call it? And they're like, well, back in the day, it was called Muscles, so there's muscle memory of that. So let's call it Ultimate Muscle. So, it's probably a similar example to that, why they have all those weird names. But thank you for the super chat question, my friend. Thank you. It's always nice to have people support the podcast. Let people know that we're doing a good job here. Entertaining you on this Saturday night of craziness with my ruler. Ben Williams says here, as we are talking about plastic crack, can you do a Play Dude style photo of you? Play Dude. Oh geez, I know what he's talking about. Actually, it was called Playgirl. Was the book that Shawn Michaels was on. Do not Google that, people. But instead of the WWE belt, have it be a Symbiote Studio plush. Actually, they're pretty big. They could be. Actually, no, the WWE belt's slightly bigger than the heads of the Symbiote Studios plush. But no, you do not want that. I don't think anyone wants that. Not even the female fans want that. Maybe. I don't know. Michael Koo says, howdy, sorry I'm late. Michael, it's okay. Better late than never. I always say if you go to a party, it's better to be late. Horned Owl says, Protoman, you like seeing other people's collections. Is the same concept why people want to see yours. Yeah, but you know what it is with me, though? Is my collection is massive. It's you know what I mean? It is like, I'm just trying to even do a 360 here. Like, you have no idea, guys. You have no idea. And it's something that I'm so used to having such a large collection that when I see smaller collections like that, it humbles me. And I like that. I like seeing smaller collections because I like seeing more focused stuff and stuff that people have like that, you know. I just dig it. Oh, we got someone who joined the Elite Guard. Welcome, Media Max, to the Elite Guard as a YouTube member of the Transformers HasLab podcast. Thank you for joining. I will try to contact you through your channel to see how you want your name put in the end credit scrolls if you're hearing this. Or try to contact me on Twitter, whatever works. JR from the Philippines. What's up, JR? Always love to see your name. Hi, Proto. Hi, everyone. I hope, aside from toy and prototype images, Hasbro hypes V-Saber with more TF victory clips to introduce the character and more people. Well, I was saying, Jay, like, you know, I don't know what the legal licensing ramifications are, but because, you know, right now Shout Factory, I believe, still has the license to the Transformer DVDs. I know that's ending soon. But they do have the licensing to it, and they have the licensing to the Takara 3, as it's called. You know, Headmasters, Master Force, and Victory. And Zone technically is part of Victory, but whatever. It's an OVA. So I would assume that, maybe they could do something. But what really told me that I think they don't was when they showed the clips of Star Saber combining, to become Star Saber. Saber to become, Star Saber, they didn't use the audio. They actually used, license-free audio, and I think that there might be some kind of legal ramifications with that. I think it might be the music in the background with Toei, or the licensed music, because there's vocal songs, Toran Sufom Gatai, Power up, jikara mo, jikara robure numasta, victory, toran sufoma victory. See, now you're going to get me started. I think that there might be some legal ramifications because me personally, take the first 3 episodes of Victory, put it out there on the Hasbro Pulse YouTube channel like they're doing now with Generation 1, and stir up some interest. That's what I would do. Look, but when we first learned that Star Saber was going to be our exclusive, our HasLab thing, I posted that clip on my Twitter. That clip of Star Saber's first appearance where he kills those 2 Decepticons, cowboy style. But, that was my way of hyping it up for people. But that's not my job, Anyways. That's just how I think they should have done. But I agree with you. They should put up clips or, something. I think, again, take the first 3 episodes. That way, Shout Factory doesn't lose out in DVD sales, and then get people interested. And then people will be, oh, wow, this is cool. And then they buy the DVDs. They might buy the mangas, buy Viz they put out Viz not too long ago, which is, I think they're on sale right now on Amazon. So check those out. Those are fantastic, by the way. There's so many ways they could go about it. But if there is a reason why it's not being done, it could be from a licensing and a legality thing from music. I think that might be it. But I could be wrong. We'd have to ask someone from Hasbro. But thank you for the super chat question. JR! Philippines, number 1. Media Max says, what exactly bumps up a Commander class Rodimus to leader from Leader Optimus? People never seem happy with the value of Optimus as a leader. Well, number 1, Optimus is let's put it this way. Both of them have trailers, right? But the difference is while Optimus was a Voyager figure with a trailer, Rodimus was a Voyager figure with a trailer that had a lot of stuff going on with it. Like, no offense to Optimus's trailer, but that roller trailer was very bare bones with plastic colors, paint, didn't have any extra pieces really in a lot of ways. It was very simple. The Rodimus one had little hydraulic pieces, little extra pieces, blast accessories, extra accessories, the sword of Primus, all that kind of stuff. They made sure that the Rodimus had the value that made sense for, and not to mention the complexity, that made sense for a commander class. And Rodimus Prime's trailer also historically has always been larger and more beefier than Optimus Prime's trailer when you really compare the two. So that's how they were able to get away with making it a commander class. But, you know, I think Star Saber and Victory Leo could have been a commander class pack, in my opinion. Tom Laney says, I'm sorry I started something. It's okay, man. People want to see the collection. That's just how it is. You know, that's just how it is, my brother. Ben Williams says, I recently saw some arguments online re faux parts and parts forming and people not liking them on toys. What are your feelings on them? You know what? Look, parts forming has existed in Transformers culture since the beginning. The original G1 Starscream was a parts former. You know? The beloved God Bomber who became God Jinrai is a parts former. You know, I feel, you know, it belongs where it belongs. From a design standpoint, in the perfect world, we'd like it where everything just kind of works out and attaches. But I mean, look, I love the character God Magnus, aka Ultra Magnus from Robots in Disguise, Car Robots. He's a bit of a parts former. He comes apart and then he goes back together. Look at Combiners. Combiners technically are parts formers. They don't all attach and then somehow, you know. So it has its place. It just has to make sense fictional. Me, I always feel that if in the fiction it kind of works, then I could forgive it for the toy. But if I've been sold for years that it was a one-piece transformation thing, and then the actual product has to come apart in many pieces and then go back together, that's where it kind of bothers me more. But otherwise, you know, it has its place. There's a lot of stuff that I can think of where, you know, something comes off and comes on. I think what bothers me more is, from a parts former standpoint, is when a piece is like a big part of the, like, you know, like a big, I love Big Convoy. That's the black version, mind you. I love Big Convoy. But the one thing that sucks about him is how like 90% of his alt mode is his cannon. And if you lost that cannon, let's say, or if he didn't have his gun, he couldn't transform back properly. You know, so those are the only times when accessories kind of mess with that. And I think the first example of that I could remember in Transformers that was really noticeable was like Blur, G1 Blur, like the front of his car being his shield and stuff, where if you don't have that shield, forget about the rest of the vehicle mode. Where, you know, if you lose Starscream's fists, Generation 1 Starscream doesn't hit, you know, even though he's a parts former, doesn't hinder the jet mode. And the robot mode still looks okay, I guess, you know. But that's it. Michael Koo with the super chat question. Hey, Michael, how you doing, Mike? Welcome to the chat, my friend. Michael Koo with the blue super chat asked, better yet, add Star Saber into the upcoming Cyberverse movie. I hope we get anything out of that Cyberverse movie. I mean, that's coming out soon, eh? That's going to be November 21st. Plug. November 21st on Netflix. The new Cyberverse movies. Sponsored by Hasbro. Hey, be sure to check that out. I hope they don't suck. I hope they don't. I like Cyberverse. Too short, but I like Cyberverse. Thank you for the super chat, Michael. We got a gold super chat from this boyo. This boyo wants to know with the gold super chat. Hey, Proto, I'm a semi-long viewer, and you helped keep my love of this franchise alive, and I want to say hi. Well, thank you, this boyo. You know what's crazy? And I was having this conversation not too long ago with a friend, and I was saying, like, it's nuts that I have been consistently obsessing over this brand, like daily nonstop, since like 1997. No, 1996, I would have to say, like when Beast Wars really started rolling around. Nonstop. It's like I got the internet, And then like maybe 10 days into getting the internet back in 96, nonstop obsessing with this brand. And every day, no matter where I was in my life, all this time, girlfriends, dating, career, no matter where I was in my life, I always found myself back in front of a computer looking at whatever was the news website at the time for Transformer news. Back in the day, it was Benson Yee's website. Then it was bigbot.com, and then it slowly migrated on to transfandom.org, and finally now we settle on tfw2005.com. But, I always remember, like, I would go to a friend's house, in the early 2000s. He'd be playing, like, Pokemon Ruby or Sapphire. I have, like, a crystal clear memory of this. I go to his house and he's playing Pokemon Sapphire, and his other friend is on World of Warcraft or something on one computer, and I was on his laptop looking up the latest Transformer news, because I think Cybertron toys were debuting around that time in 2005, 2006, around then. I've been with this fandom and this franchise for so many years that it's cool to see people that when they enjoy my content, it helps them love this franchise longer, and it helps them keep at it and stick with the franchise, because Transformers has its ups and downs. It always will, but anything does. Anything awesome in the world. Look, Star Wars, the Marvel franchises, DC movies, everything has its ups and downs. There's always peak periods where it's taking over the world, and then it has periods where it has to regress and someone else is going to get that spot. Being someone who loves sports, no one ever stays the champion forever. Some other team gets a chance to stand at the top. And it's the same thing with franchises. But if you're a true sports fan, through the good and the bad, you always root for your favorite team. And I was with this franchise nonstop since 96. They kind of lost me during that Ninja Turtle, Power Ranger, arcade boom Street Fighter 2 era, which I don't blame them, because that was Generation 2 and the tail end of G1. And, Turtles was just taking over the world, and so was Power Rangers at that time. But, and Street Fighter was really taking over the world. But it's just, ever since Beast Wars, I've been at it. And I think it's worked out pretty well for me, I would think. Got to work in the brand, got to create stuff in the brand, still get to help with the licensing of the brand, get to make a little money talking about the brand, so it's nice to see that there's people that enjoy the content that I make. It's really cool. So, thanks for the super chat, my friend, and I hope to see more of your face in the future. I haven't seen you really comment that much, so you're new to me, my friend. Downright Superb says, is it possible to get a Studio Series 86 Gun Megatron through HasLab? The problem with that is it's not just a retail thing, it's an America thing. That's the problem. So to give an example, I talked about this on the podcast. About 1 year ago, they made a water gun replica in Japan of G1 Megatron. And people were trying to import it here into America. Now, keep in mind, the toy is manufactured in Japan, so it's not sold through American retail or anything, and it was sold there. Some people tried to import it, and it stayed in gun mode and import, and it got stopped. And then they had to confiscate it, and the dude had problems with it. Some people were able to get it, some people weren't. It really has to do with, your importer and, the border patrol and stuff like that for packages. Some stuff doesn't get scanned depending on location. But it really has to do with an American and a Canadian law when it comes to realistic toys. So Hasbro Pulse would not be able to do it. If Takara did something, then yeah. There was, what's it called there? The original Classics Megatron that turned into like a Nerf gun practically. The very first one, which was like purple and green and everything. When they released it in Japan, they gave it silvers and all of that and everything. So Japan is able to do it. Look at our Masterpiece Gun Megatron. Even though he's crazy oversized, It'll happen in Japan. It'll just never happen in America. So Hasbro Pulse will never, like, even if they do a masterpiece, Hasbro Pulse probably won't carry the masterpiece. You'll probably have to import it or something. That's probably the only way. But why would Takara and Hasbro want to manufacture a product that they know would not be able to be sold in other regions? Canada, UK, USA. So that's why I don't think it'll happen. The masterpiece happened because that's a masterpiece. They want to make something special. It's a masterpiece. People are going to buy it. It's for that region, for the Japanese region. But to make something that couldn't be spread across all the other regions, it's a lot more difficult. So that's why I think that really happened. More than anything else. More than anything else. Media Max says, is it possible to lower that lower price HasLab products could be released in retail later? HasLab, well, I'll finish your question. Maybe give original backer special rewards after the fact, like Nintendo after they lowered the price on the 3DS. No, you know what? HasLab has this agreement, and it's not just with Transformers. It's all the HasLab stuff that they've done, whether it be the Marvel stuff or the Star Wars stuff. The agreement is whatever they make will never be in retail. And the explanation that they give is the stuff that they make wouldn't find a place in retail, at least in modern retail, without Toys R Us existing. So that's the explanation that they give, is that it's also product that somehow would not fit in modern retail. But that's also why I'm more iffy about Star Saber, because I feel like Star Saber was something that could have existed in retail. I really do. That's something that's like if, to give like the Star Wars or the Marvel example, that's like if they released like a, you know, HasLab 6-inch Professor X figure and they charge $20 more than he normally would be in retail and go, oh, this is going to be a HasLab exclusive. And if it gets backed, we'll do it. And it's a special design that's so obscure that's the only reason why we do it. But I think they still could do it. You know, the logistics, the pricing, the plastic, the engineering, the spacing. If you told me that Victory Saber was the Transformers Legacy Commander class, I'd believe you. But I think what's probably happening, and don't quote me on it, I think we might be entering an era where Transformer toys are going to get more expensive and smaller. And I think that's why something like Victory Saber can't be a Commander class, but the rumored centerpiece of Motormaster, which probably might end up being a small leader class when it's all said and done, might be the case. But we will see in the future. That's something I don't want to speak out of term until we really have a conversation that's has a little more weight. We got a super chat here from Michael Koo. Michael Koo. Staying a TF fan throughout the years is like being a Chicago Cubs fan. The Cubs. I don't know. Chicago has a really good history with their hockey team, though. You gotta like the Blackhawks, Bobby Hull, Ed Belford, Stan Mikita. They have a donut chain over there called Mikita's, named after it. And then Michael Koo says after that, Protoman, is there a G1 episode where Wheeljack jokes about giving Spike a motorcycle exosuit? Why hasn't Hasbro ever followed up on this idea? Well, the closest we've ever had to really exosuit kind of stuff was when we had Human Alliance. Which figure was it? There was one of the Human Alliance figures that kind of like transformed and kind of became a little bit of an exosuit for one of the figures. I forget which one it was. I don't remember the names of them. I'm looking at them right now, but they all had like weird names like Sergeant Thunder and, you know, weird names like that, which they didn't use any of those trademarks afterwards except a few of them. Look, you know, Masterpiece gave us a few transforming exosuit stuff. Supposedly we have a rumored Spike core class that's coming at some point in Studio Series 86. But I don't know. They don't like to make too many human figures. They like to avoid that. When we get a human figure, it's always a little static statue kind of thing, more than anything else. I don't know why they're so apprehensive about that. I mean, I imagine like if Master Force would have came out like today, I imagine the Japanese would have at least made like little articulated human figures on the Japanese side of things, and then in America we wouldn't even acknowledge that exists or something. You know, kind of like what Kotobukiya did with Minerva and Ginrai, where they made those really crazy figures, which I loved, and I wish they made more of those. But they didn't sell very well, clearly. No one wanted them, so... I think Ginrai killed it. I think Minerva sold well, and then when they released Ginrai, no one bought it. So that kind of sucks. Couldn't they ship Gun Megatron in bot mode? Yeah, they could, but the problem is that if it's acknowledged anywhere on the package that it turns into a gun, that's the problem. Look at the weirdness that exists with Shockwave and Six Shot. Shockwave turns into a laser gun, a purple laser gun, and they still had to like flip him upside down and put all these pieces on him and say that he's a submarine, you know? They're very weird with that. They can't even acknowledge it. And because it's so ingrained in that character's history and what he transforms into, is there probably some weird loophole they could do? Yeah, they could probably like make a Megatron and put all kinds of attachment pieces on it that make it look like a completely different thing. And when you peel away all those attachment pieces, he's a Walter P-38. But I think someone's going to get sued, or some kid's going to get shot, or something's going to happen. And Hasbro doesn't need that. They want it that if a kid was running around with a red Megatron with, you know, with the turret and he gets shot, Hasbro can't say, oh, it's their fault, you know, oh, like it's like the cops clearly saw him holding a replica of a gun. They don't want to take that risk. It's so much easier just to do what they've been doing literally since Generation 2 and play it safe. And financially, it's been working for them. It's easier for them to just do that than to take that risk and make a gun. The closest we ever got in the Western world was we got that little mini Megatron gun. I've showed it in the past. They did like a little legend scale one. And even that little one, which is like as big as my hand, they still put an orange tip on the end just to play it safe because they knew what if something happens. And they don't want that to happen. Reese's with the super chat, the gold super chat, Reese's. Haven't watched the Japanese exclusive series Headmasters, Master Force, or Victory. Would you recommend them, and are they canon to Generation 1? If so, why haven't we gotten some type of remaster? So here's something I'm going to say, and it's a little controversial, but I stand by it. If you are going to watch Headmasters, Master Force, Victory, and Zone, which, by the way, I do suggest you watch them. I'm going to say this right now. Headmasters is kind of boring, but Headmasters was like Japan going, okay, season 3's done. We're going to do like a season 4. And they kind of kept the style and writing, and it was kind of slow. But Headmasters is important because it kind of sets the foundation of key things. What happens to Cybertron? What happens to Optimus Prime? Why is there a new leader? What happens to the Matrix? Who's this Scorponok Zarek character? Who is Six Shot? So you kind of need to drudge through those 32 episodes. But after you're done Headmasters, Master Force and Victory are fantastic. I love Master Force more than Victory, but they're both fantastic series. Now, when it comes to watching them, I feel that the Shout Factory official DVDs that are available out there are garbage. They have terrible subtitles, and I find that the transfers are not good. Do you want to know what's the best way to watch Master Force, Victory, or Zone? Illegally through fan subs by TV Nihon back in the day. That's how I feel. And there's links to find them very easily through a certain someone's Discord. I'm not going to say who, but let's just say that's the best way to watch it because they had the best subtitles, and the subtitles were done by people that I knew who really know Japanese and translating stuff properly. The subtitles with the freaking Shout Factory version are garbage. Do not invest, buy, or think about using those Shout Factory versions as a way to introduce yourself to it. And Zone also. TV Nihon also has a translation of Zone, which isn't on the Shout Factory DVDs. So, and Scramble City, which was another Japanese exclusive G1 thing. And it's all connected to G1, by the way. It's all one ongoing thing, and it's beautiful. Japan is so good with that kind of stuff. When it's ongoing continuity, stuff that happens in Victory is a domino effect of stuff that has happened all the way back from the beginning of Generation 1. Stuff that happened in Victory were characters that existed in Master Force, that had history from something that happened in Headmasters, from something in Headmasters that happened in Season 3 of G1, known as Transformers 2010, and stuff that happened in 2010 that was Season 1 and 2. It's an ongoing domino effect of history that connects them all together. And Zone. with Dai Atlas afterwards. So try to find a way. The reason why it hasn't been remastered is because Toei and I believe it's TV Tokyo have the publishing rights to it. And the rule with a lot of Japanese anime, unfortunately, is if we don't get the Blu-ray special editions yet, why would America? And that happens a lot of times with a lot of Japanese anime, because a lot of people go like, hey, where's our Blu-ray releases of this anime or that anime? If Japan didn't get it yet, we're not going to get it yet. So when the time comes, we will get it. Hopefully better subtitles. Hey, next company that gets the license, give me a call and we'll do it right. We'll do it right. Downright superb. What other Transformers besides Optimus Prime turns gray when they die? Quite a few, actually. We could start with Blaster in Headmasters. Oops, spoiler. Maybe I shouldn't say, because some people do turn gray when they die in newer stuff. But Blaster is probably the first one that comes to mind. If you look at all the energy being sucked out of everyone in Return of Optimus Prime Part 1 and 2 from Tornatron, technically those people are dead, if you will, because they had all their energy or their sparks sucked out of them by Tornatron. So there's a few examples of that. And of course, Optimus Prime again in Headmasters. Spoiler. Ben Williams with the question, with prices getting worse anyways, I always wondered why, if prices in the US is say 150, then why is it still 150 UK as exchange rates? Well, see, here's the thing. When you're talking prices for Transformers in other regions, that's a whole other animal, because it's the same thing in Canada. Deluxes will be $10, but I'm just giving an example. Deluxes will be $10 in America, and they'll be $20 in Canada. But when you do exchange, it doesn't make sense. And Hasbro's argument in the past used to be, well, it's because exchange goes up and down, so we need to have a buffer to protect ourselves. It's profits. It's how it works with MSRP and retail. I don't want to get too deep into the woods of it, but it's big business money, investor, crazy shit. But at the end of the day, prices are always going to be weird when it comes to other regions, whether it be Australia, whether it be Japan. Japan pays a lot for their Transformers. You think America pays a lot. Sometimes like the equivalency of a deluxe, when you really translate it, comes to like when we were paying, I remember when we were paying $10 for our deluxes during Armada, it was 2,500 yen for Armada Deluxes, Micron Legend Deluxes, which is Armada over there, which is almost about $24. So they were paying almost what us Canadians were paying. And I don't even know about taxes. That's a whole other thing too. I don't know what Japanese taxes are for sales tax. So it's different all over the world. Scramble City is magnificent. How can I watch Unicron Trilogy in its original Japanese? It's also out there by TV Nihon. They did a beautiful dual audio translation. And there's another company, TV Nihon did Superlink, which is Energon, and Cybertron, Galaxy Force, which is Cybertron. Their translations are out there. Contact me privately, MediaMax, and I'll find you some links. Some illegal links, and I'll hook you up. All you need is a torrent program. Michael Koo says Headmasters change. We'll see. There's spoilers in there. Yeah, there's spoilers in there, Michael. But yeah, pretty much. Some people apparently haven't seen the old Takara 3, so gotta wait on that. Yeah, see, Michael Koo says, I wish that Transformers Zone was approved for a full TF animated series. I wish too. When you read the Japanese story pages, it kind of gives you an idea of how the arcs of the stories would have been with Metro Titan and later on with Volinger, like how he separates and stuff like that. I imagine that would have been like a whole bunch of episodes, like him transforming to his final form. And then all the twists. Oh my God, he's the rebirth Sparkless, that's the sparks of all the Decepticons and stuff like that. Let's see. Let's dig through some more questions. All the sparkless spots on Netflix are also gray, and they are dead. Yeah, there's a lot of examples of it throughout the years. You could find, if you dig for it, it's there. I'm pretty sure there's even more in the comics. This boyo with the gold super chat. Sorry about my grammar proto. It's okay, man. I mistype stuff all the time, and I do writing. But I got a question or a clarification. I always thought Ginrai was a revived Optimus Prime, but recently someone told me that it was a different character. Is that true? Yes, it is true. The story is that originally See, here in America, we associate that body with Power Master Optimus Prime, and then that big combined mode, which was later on imported over here with the Apex armor. So we call that Optimus Prime. But in continuity, if you don't count the Marvel Comics, the Power Master body was a body that was created in the G Nebula for Optimus Prime or Convoy to make him be revived after he died in Headmasters, spoiler. So it was a body for that. Unfortunately, those bodies got stolen, and then they crashed on Earth. Ginrai, the American truck driver who was doing his hair in the mirror, found it, and the rest was history. Separate character completely, unrelated, and then later on becomes an individual independent Spark robot later on, which then, because of the beauty of the amazing continuity of the Japanese continuity of Transformers, later on becomes a HasLab exclusive. Spoiler. It's hard doing a spoiler on something that happened many years, almost 25 years ago. Have there ever been toys of the 9 generals? Well, yes and no. The 9 Decepticon generals of the Combiners and Trypticon and Zarek did get toys, just never in their crazy flowing capes and accessories. I'm surprised there's never been a third-party company that has thought to make like accessories to make it happen. Like even like, you know, like have like the weird helmet for Trypticon and all the weird, and the shield that he had and all that wacky stuff. The closest that we have to that is the Black Zarek that's going to be coming out, the Titan class one. It has an eye patch on it, and the eye patch is an homage to his Transformers Zone body. So technically the first time we see an acknowledgement of the Transformers Zone 9 Generals design is that Titan class Black Zarek. So hope that helps a little bit. We got another gold super chat from Downright Superb. I just want to vent. You're welcome to vent. Scalpers and resellers ruin everything. Gaming, action figures, shoes. Oh man, don't even get me started on shoes. I have a sneakerhead friend that flips out over that stuff. This capitalist mindset is toxic. I can't wait until we have a replicator like in Star Trek The Next Generation. Well, when 3D printing gets better, who knows? Maybe in the next 10 years we'll see what... I always say this. Look how crazy like burning CDs have changed. 10 years since it was like burning CDs and copying CDs in 1996 when it became mainstream. And then 10 years later, everything was getting burned so much in 2006 that they practically were getting rid of physical media. I almost imagine, I can't imagine what 3D printing is going to be 10 years from now. It's probably going to be crazy. But no, dude, I'm with you. Look, scalping sucks. Look, you know how many times, I've gone to places and I love to pick up the latest, Transformers or something, and it's just not there. And me, it doesn't bother me as much because I know sooner or later, if I don't get it now, I'll get it later, and I know that sooner or later, I'm a little different too because I'm lucky to have the opportunities to go to conventions, and I know that sooner or later, let me try to find something that's recent. Maybe not the best example. I know sooner or later, if I couldn't find him in retail, although him I bought on special, I'll find him loose on a table at TFCon in the future or something cheaply, Iaconis or whatever. But it's just, I'm with you though. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like that. I don't like the scalping scene. I find it really messes with a lot of stuff. And I find that it also hurts, for me, it hurts the growth of the fandom, because if there's new people that want to get into it and they also can't find the stuff. They're different from me and you, those new people. Me and you, we know what to look for on eBay. We know the message boards. We know the groups. We know how to find stuff. We have the sightings forums. We have that community. But new people to the game that just saw like something on Netflix or saw an episode on Hasbro Pulse of G1, and now they want to own, a Beast Wars retro reissue or something. Then they go to the stores and they can't find it. They don't have that built-in knowledge to then check online to find that stuff. And they, look, hindsight is very important and knowledge is very important. When you don't know something, you're really going at it blind and ignorant. There's a lot of brands that sometimes when I don't know anything about them, I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm so lost here and everything. When I was doing copyright for Beyblade, I didn't know a lot about that brand at the time. I had to really learn a lot about it. And this was like 2006, right in the middle of Metal Saga kind of stuff. And, it's just, you have to learn. And, when it's so easy for someone like me to just go like, oh, this is Hot Rod. He made his debut in 1986 in the original 86 movie. He was voiced by Judd Nelson and Dick Goche. His original toy in his prototype form was originally pink, but when it was released in retail, it had a dark maroon. It had multiple variants of steel toes and metal toes. His fist on one version in 1987 was larger because it had to have a Target Master. And then later on, the character became Rodimus Prime, which was another 1986 toy, which also had metal toes and steel toes and many different variants. And then when it was reissued in Japan back in 2001, it had larger eyes and a different. I could go on and on, but that's stuff that's cooked in this brain, and I know all that information. But most people, they're gonna like want a figure, and they're gonna be like, "Why is this Rat Trap core class different than this one here, who's retro reissue?" And then, like, one day both of them are gone and he doesn't know. It's like, to me, scalpers hurt the new fandom more than anything, because those are the ones that I wish wouldn't have difficulty being able to get stuff. And a lot of people that I talk to when they want to buy Transformer toys, it's so daunting for them because they don't know what to buy. They don't know what to get. And when they go to stores, there's nothing there right now. And I think I hate to like make an excuse, but I do think, the Big V has a little bit of something to do with it. Obviously scalpers are a real thing, but the Big V does a little bit have something to do with it, because scalpers, a lot of them too, they're hungry for money and they can't work. So they're upping their scalping activity. And because a lot of people aren't going to stores, and then there's all the other drama that's going on right now that I really don't want to talk about, but it's preventing people from going to stores or going out, so they have to buy online. Because they're buying online, they have to buy through scalpers instead of buying through retail. It's complicated. It really is. It's stupid, gross, disgusting stuff, but it's complicated. We got a super chat from Prime Time with Stephen Joyce. Do you think we'll get a Thunderclash in Legacy or Generation Selects? We don't have the Thunderclash trademark anymore. We had it back in 2009, and then they lost it. Hasbro did an homage to Thunderclash. Well, obviously there was the BotCon exclusive in 2009. That's where the trademark came from. We had an homage to Thunderclash in the Beast Hunters 2-pack of Optimus Prime and Megatron, which we had a Thunderclash version. I think I did a photo of that on my Instagram years ago. I don't remember. I've taken so many Instagram photos. But, I think sooner or later probably that character will get some love, but Hasbro's going to have to issue a trademark first. Well, you do not get any characters without its trademark. That's rule number 1. Keep that in mind. So before you go, hey, why isn't there, DevCon? Where's my DevCon? Is there a DevCon trademark? Oh, there is? Then he's probably going to happen. So that's usually how it works. But yeah. Stinkfist69 says, I'm drunk and it's hard to keep up, so I'm out. Good night, everyone. See you next Saturday, Proto. Take care, Stinkfist69. Let's see, where are we at? I think I saw some other questions up at. Ben says here, someone asked earlier, a non-super chat, that could be, would there be a new version of Primus? And well, right now the Primus trademark isn't with Hasbro. That's a big problem. I don't know why they didn't protect that. at some point, hopefully, they'll be able to get the Primus trademark back. Remember in Age of Extinction, they reissued the Primus toy? Like, it was like purple and everything. And they couldn't even call it Primus because they didn't have the trademark. They just called it Planet Cybertron. Like it sucked. I love Primus. You know, like he's easily, you know, a character that whenever there's a toy of him, I pick it up. And it's tough. It's tough. Where's another? I saw one here. Some about trademarks here. Does Hasbro have the trademark for Clampdown? Not right now. I'd have to check that one, but I don't think so. You have to keep in mind when we're talking trademarks, guys. Don't just look at Transformers. If you see a G.I. Joe character with a Transformer name, that means it could happen. If you see a My Little Pony toy with a Transformer name, that means it could happen. If you see a My Little Pony character and their name is Clampdown, sooner or later, that's going to transfer over. It's all under the Hasbro emblem. Yeah, they you know what, Michael, they registered it in 2006. They did a few things and then they just let it lapse. And I think that, you know, there's a music group called Primus. Maybe there's some kind of headache with that too. I don't know the specifics of it. There's also, I think there's a banking company called Primus. There's a lot of weird kind of stuff going on with that trademark. It's kind of like Tidal Wave. I remember at one point Hasbro had problems getting, they have Tidal Wave back now, but they had problems getting Tidal Wave back because Swiffer, the company, had a mop called Tidal Wave, and there were some kind of headaches with that too. I don't remember the specifics. It was like that. This was like back during Revenge of the Fallen. I remember hearing about this, like, you know, 2009, so like 11 years ago. With these trademarks, when they lose the trademark, can and does anyone buy the trademark thinking the company can pay them more money for the trademark? No. See, because here's how that works. They know that that people will try to strong arm a trademark. How it works is that if you register a trademark for yourself, you have to use that trademark on a registered product. If you don't, it gets taken away from you. You cannot re-trademark it for, I think it's like a year or 2 years, and then you get fined by the U.S. Patent Office, which is the U.S. government. So that prevents people from, like, you know, leaning on the side and going, oh, Hasbro didn't register back Bumblebee, I'm going to snatch it. And then Hasbro's going to be like, okay, you're going to make a Bumblebee product now that's going to be sold in mass retail in Walmart, Target, and Toys R Us? No? Well, I'm going to see when you get your fine later of $10,000, you know? So they do that on purpose. You know, they make sure that if someone takes it and doesn't use it, then they're going to get fined. That's why, like, you see a lot of weird stuff. To give an example, oh my God, I wish I had it with me. Mattel, back in, I think it was 2012, I posted it on my Twitter years ago, they did a Hot Wheels line called Dino Riders, just so they could keep the Dino Riders trademark, which originally was owned by Tyco, you know? So, like, there's little weird things like that to kind of keep a trademark and do stuff. It's the business side of it that for some people is gross and annoying, but it's a reality, unfortunately. But that's why, look, when you see a weird Bludgeon figure, and it's like, oh, what's this stupid Bludgeon figure? It doesn't even look like Bludgeon, and why is it called? It's because they got to keep the trademark, you know? How does the copyright for Pokemon work? They make sure that they put out a lot of, like, here's the thing, this is about physical property. Pokemon isn't really concerned about specific characters. Look, if like, let me think of an obscure Pokemon. Magmar, right? If the current company that's doing Pokemon toys, which, by the way, changes all the time, whether it be Hasbro back in the day, Spin Master, Jazzware, what was the other one that had it at one point? There was another company that had it also. But, you know, like those companies, or Tomy, if it's in the Western market, Japanese market, trademarking is a whole other animal. But in the Western market, they're more just concerned about what products could we put out that are trademarked. The whole thing that happened with Bumblebee. Remember Bumblebee a while back? That huge thing with the Bumblebee female DC superheroes girl, and then Hasbro. The only reason why that was a headache, even though that female DC superhero girl was around for like 40 years was because they never made figures of her. Then they have the DC Superhero Girls toy line. They want to make dolls of this Bumblebee character. Now it's a problem. As long as they don't need to make a figure of Magmar from Pokemon, they don't care about the trademark. Just keep trademarking Pikachu and Charmander and Charizard and I don't know, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, you know, maybe the odd, you know, new characters that are in the new season of something. Like that's a whole other thing to discuss, but that really also has to do with whatever company owns the trademark at the time, because it's a lot of hot potato with the Pokemon trademark when it comes to merchandising and, most importantly, licensing. Because all of those companies, Spin Master and all of them, they don't own Pokemon. They're not the Pokemon company. And that's a whole other thing, too, to talk about, is licensing. Michael Koo with the Super Chat. Protoman, why doesn't Hasbro include mini comics with TF action figures? Because it's more expensive. Plain and simple. It's one more thing that they would have to pay an artist, pay a writer, and then pay extra to have paper included with it. They're already cutting down. Look, they got rid of bios on the back. Look, we have package art. I think that's Marcelo that did that one. I could be wrong. But we have package art still to a degree, so that's maintained. They're already getting rid of the bubble because supposedly that's too expensive. They already got rid of bios and explaining, tech specs and stories. They got rid of that a long time ago. To pack in a comic book too, it's not worth it for them. It really isn't. It really isn't. It's for them, it's just like, why are we giving away yet another thing? For them, it's just, you want to read a comic, go read it online. We'll put it on our website. It'll only take web space. Check it out, Transformers.com, for this comic book. They'll do something like that. How does Yu-Gi-Oh! Copyright work? Well, Yu-Gi-Oh! Toys, if I remember correctly, were done through Bandai of America, which doesn't exist anymore. And it really it's a person-to-person basis. It really is. If they're doing certain toys and the trademarks of those toys matter, keep in mind too, and this is very important, if those trademarks matter. There's a character named Kaiba or Mai. They're not going to trademark Kaiba if it's not important to them. Because that company, Bandai of America, is licensing Yu-Gi-Oh! From Konami. So they don't need, unless they have a long-term relationship that's going to be 5-10 years, they don't need to trademark Kaiba. They don't need to go through that headache. They're going to put out a Kaiba toy. They're going to call it Kaiba, and that's it. Hasbro owns Transformers. They want to protect Wheeljack, Bumblebee, Hot Rod, Optimus Prime, Megatron, Starscream, Soundwave, and on and on. It's a whole different thing. No, I know Ninjatron artists don't work for you. No, Marcelo has a beautiful contract with Hasbro, I would imagine. He's been working with them for years. Hey, Proto, is Victory Leo's multiple beings, God Jinrai with Super Jinrai and God Bomber combined, how many beings are Victory Saber? Well, I mean, technically, Victory Leo is just the... So, Jinrai was a human that would... Master Force, God Master Force in this case, God Master to the robot. But when they separated, the robot became sentient, and it was like God Bomber and Super Jinrai became one sentient robot known as God Jinrai. And then, so that was just one being. And then that one being then got rebuilt as Victory Leo, and because he was rebuilt and the Victory Unification Project made him a little crazy, so it's still one being, and then Victory Saber became a thing, and then for some reason, like Star Saber, at least in after Transformers Victory with Zone, didn't disconnect, and so he just kind of holds it together with him, so I don't know. That's the semantics of combiners and sentience, like, who is really in charge when it's Devastator? Who is really in charge when it's so-and-so? So, yeah, Bandai of America isn't doing very well right now. There's not much of a Bandai of America anymore. Look it up. It's unfortunate. It's one less person on. That's why. How do you think Hasbro got the Power Ranger license? That's the best example of that. What happened to the Power Ranger Legacy line? All of that stuff crumbled down. Tom Laney, would you be interested to find out would be interested in finding out the budget on, say, a deluxe figure, 80% for figure and 20% for packaging? Oh boy, you know what? Like, that's something I wish we had Aaron Archer on, because he could really break that down for you and go into the inside baseball of it. But then we'd also be revealing just how much profit some companies make on a single individual product. So, but that's a whole other story, unfortunately, that even I don't want to talk about. That's why something like Star Saber, Victory Saber from HasLab slightly bothers me. I like everything I see, except that price. Everything else makes sense. The scale is fine. It's the engineering is fine, but that price for what we're getting, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. But man, we have 15 minutes left. We have 15 minutes left. That is crazy. We flew today, guys. My goodness. From the comic, Ben says here, from the comic, I thought no one was in charge with Devastator. He was the prototype and a bit useless because of it. Yeah, that's the belief. Like the Scramble project in the Japanese version, as it was called, which started with Devastator and it was a Decepticon creation, was always an unstable idea with Devastator, and then became much more perfected later on when the Scramble power was invented. And then it was originally created by the Cybertrons or Cybertronians or the Autobots with the aerial bots, and then was perfected again later on with Defensor. And then the Decepticons stole that technology and then created the Stunticons and Bruticus, although that's all like backstory explanation, nothing that's heard in the cartoon. It's all Japanese liner note kind of stuff that you see in like TV magazines and everything. I could probably pull out a few of them for you guys in the future, but I'm not going to do that now. I get blamed too many times for running away and bringing you guys stuff. Tom Laney was going off Michael Koo with comics. How much more to add comics take away from the card and the toy budget? Yeah, well, look, when was the first time we got comics? Energon. Look, I like Energon toys for their toyetic aspect, but they were also, you know what? But not Energon, Armada. But you know what though? What I loved, Armada was great in one way. I'll say this: you got two toys. A deluxe would get you like two toys. You get one bulk toy, one mini toy. You got a comic book, and then you got a trading card that doubled as a sticker. You got a lot in one deluxe packaging, and it's kind of a shame that we don't exist in that era anymore. Where now today, like, you're lucky if you get color instructions, and soon one day you're gonna be lucky if you get colored box packaging. We'll see what happens with that. Elves Bleed 57. Do you think Hasbro will do Transformers Power Ranger crossovers? Oh, bro, 200%. It's not a matter of will they, it's a matter of when will they. Aaron Archer talked about this in the past when it came to the G.I. Joe brand with Transformers, is that the only time they really do crossovers with other brands is when they feel it does a service for both those brands. So, like, right now, Power Rangers has done a crossover with Ninja Turtles, which is a hot brand. So it's not a matter of will they, it's a matter of when they. It's just a matter of time. Not to mention now that Hasbro owns Power Rangers, it's just a matter of time. It really is. Media Max says, Proto, I just want to say I think Victory Saber is a good deal. Takara God Jinrai is $300. That's import fees, my friend. Can't compare the two. Japanese market is very different than the American market. If I want today, always late to the party. Plus, this new HasLab is super limited production. No, boy. Here's the thing. This is going to be 11,000 units, okay? There is tons. Actually, now that I think about it, there's not a single BotCon product that's even half that. I think the most produced BotCon product was 5,000 units, and BotCon box sets were like $300. But you got like 4 deluxes, sometimes a leader class or a Voyager. You would get a pin. You'd get tons of extra stuff, a comic book, and that was included with your admission to the convention. I don't agree with that. The limited nature is not true because they're going to make tons of units of these that could justify it. The margins, as it's referred to as, the margins are not a good argument for that. And again, the pricing comes from the Japanese world. The Japanese world pays way too much for their product already because Japan, many years ago, went, kids aren't buying toys anymore. It's mostly adults now. Maybe if we raise the price but not change anything, they'll just pay because we know that it's, when things change and it's no longer a birthday present or a Christmas present, but it's an adult that could treat themselves every weekend, you could charge $5 more because they know that it's an adult buying. And the collector market stuff, we get hosed many times with that kind of stuff. I promise you, if Victory Saber was a retail product, he wouldn't even be anywhere near that price. And he would not be changed at all. He'd be exactly the same with the V-Lock cannon. We got a super chat from JR. The question will pop up sooner or later. What's for dinner, Proto Man? And probably breakfast and lunch tomorrow. More power, Proto. Thank you, JR. I was going to have pizza tonight, but I actually I went past this Vietnamese bakery, and I picked up what's called pâté chaud, which is because Vietnamese use a lot of French words in their language and their history with their food, which is it's like Vietnamese buns with pork and curry in them. So I picked up a bunch of those, so I'm probably going to have those. For breakfast, I'm probably going to just have something light, maybe a banana Nutella sandwich or something. I wanted to have like a nice light breakfast. And lunch, chicken breast, maybe. I'll have to defrost it. I don't know. I have broccoli. I have to use too before it goes bad. I want to make curry, Japanese curry, but I don't have the ingredients for that. Probably gonna do grocery shopping tomorrow. Boring information for you guys, but someone asked, so I'm gonna answer it. And it's gonna rain tomorrow, so I'm probably not gonna do too much stuff outdoors, anyways. But thank you for the super chat question, my brother. Always nice to see your face. Media Max wants to know what's the minimum amount of units could be produced for Hasbro. With BotCon, the lowest units they've ever done was 500 units when it was the fun publication era. When it was the 3H era, it could be as low as 100 units. The less the margins are, the more costly the product is. But when you hit that 10,000, 100,000 kind of thing, it becomes super cheap at that point. Also, what happened to BotCon? It failed. No, it didn't. BotCon didn't fail, actually. BotCon didn't fail. A little movie called The Force Awakens. Oh, man, I'm going to have to explain this to people. So, BotCon 2016 happens. Everything was successful. It did very well. Fun Publication was doing a good job. The Force Awakens comes out. Force Awakens, Hasbro was like, and keep in mind, Hasbro was like, okay, we haven't had a Star Wars movie since Episode 3. And Episode 3, the toy sales weren't that great. And when we had Episode 1, we practically killed Kenner. So we're thinking maybe toy sales will be like over here for Episode 7, Force Awakens. Now, I don't care what you think of The Force Awakens or if it was a good movie or if the sequels are any good. That's a whole other debate. But when Force Awakens came out, this is what they were expecting in sales. This is what it was. It did insanely well, the Force Awakens toy sales. The sequel movies after that, that's a whole other debate. Rose Tico toys clogging the shelves. We all know the memes. Which are true. But Force Awakens sales were really well. Hasbro got really cocky, and they're like, oh man, we could take our G.I. Joe, blah, blah, blah. They pretty much told BotCon, they're like, look, we're going to take back the convention license, and we're going to make our own convention. HasCon. You want to talk about a convention that didn't do well? Let's talk about HasCon. I was at HasCon. Larry, I think you're in the chat too. I went with Larry. He was with me at HasCon. Ultra Primal. Anyone knows Ultra Primal? We were all in the car together going to HasCon. It was a damn disaster of a show. HasCon had 1 year and then it did not do well. And the power vacuum was filled. TFCon kind of took that place unofficially. BotCon is coming back next year. So everything will work out in the end, but BotCon did not fail. I will tell you that right now. I worked closely with BotCon for the last couple of years in fun publication. They were doing quite well financially, let me tell you. Quite well. And Fun Publications, the people who had BotCon back then, they held on to the G.I. Joe license for two more years until Hasbro took that away from them too, because they wanted to have everything. Keep it all under one emblem. And it's all because of the success of Force Awakens. It all started there. All started there. Media Max. Was the American market always cheaper because they knew they'd sell maybe 5 times more? Why would Victory Saber sell well at all in the American market? Well, number one, the American market sells better in terms of children's toys because in the Japanese market, kids are expected to stop playing with toys after preschool. A lot of us were playing with toys long after that. And it's just in general, usually kids stop playing with toys in the Western world around grade 4, grade 5. In the Japanese world, it's like grade 1. So there's a lot less kids that are buying toys. And Transformers as a brand in the Japanese market in general is more of a younger demo market. Not like it is here. Look what they did to Beast Wars, Beast Machines and stuff. They try to keep it more simple in the Japanese market because they know it's a younger brand. Yeah, there's masterpieces and adult-based products there. I get that. But it's mostly a younger demo over there. And it always will be. And as a result, because that's the case, there's more units that are moved. It's still a more popular thing in the Western market. It always will be. It always will be. Transformers is an American brand. Its history is rooted in Japan. There's been Japanese exclusive stuff, the masterpieces, the great products, but in its core, it's an American brand, an American IP, owned by Hasbro, shared with Takara Tomy. So, because of its foundation and development history. But the point is that I think that the reason why they're doing Victory Saber is they want to get that character available in the Western market. They've tried in the past. They were going to do a Victory Saber trademark and product with the Robot Heroes line. Look that up. That was back in the day. And before that, Wing Saber was our Star Saber. That was literally our Western name for Star Saber was Wing Saber. And it had never panned out because Energon didn't really do that well. And Cybertron was kind of the dip for Transformers before 2007 when the movie and everything went back up again. So there's a whole history with that kind of stuff too. Media Max says here, why would Victory Saber sell better than Shockwave in the American market? That leader class Shockwave, it was a shelf warmer. Victory Saber is 100 times more obscure. Look, let me tell you something. There's a lot of leader class stuff that were done of obscure characters. There was a leader class Black Shadow. Who in America knows who Black was? It was called Sky Shadow here. Who in America knows who Sky Shadow is? Sky Shadow was in one episode, technically 2, but one episode fully of Transformers Victory. And they made a leader class toy of him. It probably didn't sell well, but they do that kind of stuff all the time. Usually decisions for toys are made partially because it's a trademark reason, partially because they feel it's something that'll sell well. And they like to take chances. They like to see, hey, maybe this character will sell well. Look, they did, you could barely see him. They did King Atlas with the Universe line back in the day, which was a repaint of the Machine Wars Starscream and before that Skyquake in the European market. Because they wanted to have the Atlas trademark. So they did King Atlas. They kept it for 4 years, then they said, forget it. They put their toe in the water to see if it's hot, to see if it works. They do it all the time. And Star Saber is one of those things that, look, we live in a global world today. You could say that Star Saber is obscure, but I guarantee most Transformer fans at this point at least have heard of the name. Because we live in a global world today and we all know stuff. Yeah, now, how hard is it to find a clip of Star Saber? It takes you 5 seconds on YouTube. It's a different world today. And we've gotten a lot of Japanese exclusive characters in our Western lines. Look at Metal Hawk. Is it obscure to do this? And they did a box set one too, you know? They trademarked it and everything. They do it. You know? Sky Shadow was one of the Phase Sixers. Yeah, a comic book that had extremely low sales. Don't you, like, no offense to the IDW comic books, but don't use the IDW comic books as any kind of a barometer for what people know of the brand. Most people who are buying Transformer toys, I'm going to tell you this right now. Look, Google James Roberts at conventions, okay? Look who is sitting next to him at all those shows, okay? I was next to James Roberts for 4 years at conventions. Let me tell you something. People who buy Transformer toys and people who read the comic books are two very different entities. So I would not compare the two. And I know that sounds terrible to me to say that, but take it from me who saw every individual who got autographs and bought stuff. It's a different entities, different demographics is the best way to put it. Different demos. They're not buying Overlord figures. Proto Man has Buzzworthy Bumblebee. This is Michael Koo with the super chat. Proto Man has Buzzworthy Bumblebee Origins. Bumblebee sold well enough where Hasbro could do an Origins Wheeljack. Too early to tell. That's something you're gonna have to wait until the holiday season when it's out of distribution and rotation. Then we'll know. And that's if Hasbro wants to do it. If they even want to do it. I think they will. Sooner or later, what else do you do with the Wheeljack character? You're going to find your way to that, to do something original. Ben Williams says, my son is 5 and Star Saber, or Star Saver as he calls him, is one of his favorites. He went out of his mind when they showed him the HasLab one. And let me ask you, Ben, how did your son learn about Star Saber? The internet, probably. How everyone else is learning about everything. Kids today could easily just go on there and you know, type whatever they want and find out about characters. Downroad Superb says, love you, Proto. Love love the podcast. Thanks for keeping Transformers alive. You're the reason I don't sleep early Saturday nights, damn you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know, we're almost done anyways. Oh, we are done. Wow, we're over. We're over, guys. We've gone 2 hours. Okay, so I guess I'm just going to do a shout out again to Symbiote Studios. Again, guys, they're the ones who sponsor our podcast and help us out with everything and give us the t-shirts that we wear every week. I'm going to be getting some new shirts from them and new plush and everything soon, and our pins. So be sure to check them out, symbiotestudios.com. They are hype, and their new plush. Get their plush, especially that Bumblebee. I love that Bumblebee one the most. That's my favorite one thus far, anyhow. And the Grimlock. Grimlock's pretty cool too. But yeah, you know, thanks to Symbiote. Thanks to Hasbro. They always support us too with everything. Be sure to check out Netflix Kingdom, which is going to be in November. Hopefully it'll be worth the wait. I hope so. I love Cyberverse, so more Cyberverse the better. And again, if you want to support the podcast, again, we have our Patreon, patreon.com/Protoman. You could join that. If you don't want to do Patreon, we also have the YouTube membership. So that's 2 ways to pay, 2 ways to play, and 2 ways to get access to our exclusive Discord, get your name in the end credit scrolls, and all the little extras that you get for helping support the podcast and being part of our crew here of the Transformers Slag podcast. And of course, like Andy over there is showing you, you get a whole bunch of little icons and stuff too. I added a whole bunch of new ones. Hopefully when we get more, how it works with YouTube is if you get more members, they unlock more slots for me to put more icons. So I have more icons lined up for you guys when the time comes. So definitely check those out too. But again, thanks guys for coming to the stream. Thanks everyone for the love and support and everything that we do here at the podcast. And man, it flew tonight. So take care everyone. And as always, roll out.